Hello and welcome to another episode of Forever Young, the show that celebrates life for those of us who are over 50, maybe 55, I don't know. But like we always say, life begins at 40 and everything before that is a dress rehearsal. So if you're really 55, you're only 15. And if you're 65, you're only 25 because age ain't nothing but a number. And I'm so delighted to be here today again as we are in our second show for season 5 of Forever Young, a presentation of Hope TV, brought to you from the Media Center here at House of Hope Atlanta. And so we're going to get right into our program. You know, I cannot do this alone, and I wouldn't want to. And I have the pleasure of always being in the presence of two lovely ladies. My co-host, Miss Jean Hendricks. We call her beautiful. Hello, Jean.
Hi, David. Thank you so much. I'm excited to be back again with you and also Dr. Mitchell. Back to you.
And of course, as you just said, the other part of our trio is Dr. Sharon Mitchell. She's staff pastor, and she is the person who kind of really keeps us together with this show. And so we couldn't do it without her, and I wouldn't even think about doing it without her. And that's Miss Dr. Sharon Mitchell. How you doing?
I'm doing great, David. And as always, it's a pleasure to be back together with you and Miss Hendricks. Looking forward to another wonderful episode of Forever Young.
Well, thank you, Dr. Mitchell. And actually, this show is really a part two. We had such an engaging conversation with our guests from our last program that actually spilled over it. That taping really was an hour, and so we really just had to chop it up into two pieces. So that's why we're wearing the same clothes. Don't think that we didn't change clothes over the week. We do have wardrobe for those of us. We may be young, but we still have a lot of clothes. No, but in all seriousness, last week we were talking with, in our first half, we was talking with Miss Sierra McCann, the state executive director from the Susan B. Komen Foundation, because October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and there was so much information that she was sharing with us that we really just had to continue the conversation. But in true fashion, before we get to our guests, we have to always kick every episode off with a little nugget from Jean Hendricks, and she always sets the table for our show. So, Jean, what do you have for us this segment?
Yes, David, I have another one that I think is very timely. And it simply says, you are a survivor and a fighter. Embrace your spirit. Keep faith in your pocket. Laugh a lot. Indulge in confidence. Grow with each tears. Breathe in positivity. Remain gorgeous. Always remember you are loved, have hope, and never give up. Back to you, David.
That's right. Never give up. That is a great mantra. For those of you who weren't with us last week, let me tell you a little bit about our guests before we bring her back onto the screen. Her name is Sierra McCann. She is the state executive director of the Susan B. Komen Breast Foundation, as we stated, here in Georgia. She's responsible for leading and overseeing all community development in the state of Georgia. She's in job, and she is pursuing the mission of the Komen Foundation, which is a world without breast cancer. She is a career fundraiser, and she's worked for her alma mater, which is Hampton University in Hampton, Virginia, St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, and UNCF. She's also a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority. She's a member of the Atlanta Business League and was recently chosen by Atlanta Magazine as one of the most powerful leaders in our city. And so, those are the kind of people we bring to you. And I want to bring her back to the stage. That's Miss Sierra McCann. Welcome back.
Hey, David. Thanks so much for having me.
Yes, we were having such a great conversation. For those of you who weren't with us last week, we were talking about breast cancer, and this is being breast cancer awareness. She shared so much dynamic information with us, and we'll do some recap with some of the stuff, some of the little nuggets that what we came away with. But one of the things that we talked about in the last show is that for breast cancer can actually be if a woman's father had prostate cancer, it increases her chance of having breast cancer. That blew the whole panel away, and that was such great information. And we were just getting ready to talk a little bit. So why don't you give us, my audience who is just joining us, give us a little bit of more about what you do at the foundation, just as a recap
Yeah,
for those who weren't with us
no
last week.
problem. So, as David shared, I am the state executive director for Komen in the state of Georgia. So, I oversee all of our community development, so our fundraising, some of our mission programming. I work closely with the various hospital systems. Work with our breast cancer patients to find resources. And we do this throughout the entire state of Georgia. We are a very small but mighty team. We work on grants. We pretty much do it all in support of the breast cancer community.
Well, and such great work that you guys,
Yes.
ladies, do over there. We're really we're a better place for us, and the education is so good. When we were talking, this is October, is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and it's always good to have these months that bring awareness to different things, especially in the age of COVID, because everybody's been just COVID focused, that we forgot about heart attacks and high blood pressure and Alzheimer's and all the other things that affect
Yes,
us. So, I know Jean has a question to kick us off as we start, refocusing us, how COVID has affected all of us. But Jean, let's kick us off today.
Okay. Sierra, how have you stayed encouraged during COVID-19 due to the social distancing and being stuck inside?
Oh, me personally? You know what? Technology has been a lifesaver in more ways than one for myself, as well as for the patients that we serve. And so I actually ended up buying my mom an iPad for Christmas. My mom is in Maryland. So when we could not get to one another, we're FaceTiming. And so the great thing is that doctors and hospitals started using this as well. So the whole telemedicine piece. So even though women may not have been able to get to the doctor's office, they're able to still virtually chat with their doctors. Komen has a breast care helpline, and this was something that was so critical and is still critical during the pandemic because a lot of our breast cancer patients, they're in isolation still, they feel alone, they're not with their families, and they just need someone to talk to. And so if they dial 877-GO-KOMEN, there is a licensed social worker there. We have oncologists there who will help talk through all of the challenges that they may be facing because of the pandemic. So I think that technology, we are just so blessed to be in this information age, I guess you could call it, where we do have resources and we're not, we may be alone, we may physically be alone, but there's still resources and ways to connect with people. And I think that that's what keeps me encouraged, as well as, the women that we're serving who have been in isolation.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you so much.
That's great.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move, so I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
R. Kelly, is he muted or canceled for you?
I'm not canceling TP2.com because that's my joint. I'm not going to be able to do it.
Look, we're going to get all in there today. We're going back to church. Are you ready to get in the house or are you ready to stay online?
I don't want to catch COVID. I'm ready, but I want to be safe.
Burnout in 2021, do you feel it?
I am going, not trying to get burnt out because I understand how it is. If you die today or tomorrow, your job description is going to be on somebody's Indeed.
when people hear the word cancer, it creates all kinds of images in our minds. What kind of information can you share with our audience about, breast cancer specifically? Like, how does it start, or, just educate,
Mhm.
from
Yeah.
what you do.
Yeah. So, simply put, when we talk about breast cancer, people are like, well, what is it? How does it happen? And essentially, if we're going to simplify it, it is a disease where the cells have just grown. They just kind of grew and they grew and they grew, and then that creates, breast cancer. So there are several stages. There's stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, and stage 4. Stage 4 is what we call metastatic breast cancer, and there is no cure for that. But when we look at stage 1 and 2, well, stage 1, there's about 98% to 100% survival rate. Okay, that's phenomenal. So then when we get to stage 2, it's about 90 to 99%. Stage 3 is 66 to 98%. And then stage 4, like I shared, there is no cure for that. So what we tell people is early detection is key. And you can see that just based off of the survival rates that I just shared. So if you get diagnosed in a stage 1, there's 98 to 100% chance that you're going to make it through. You're going to pull through, as long as you follow the correct treatment regimen for you that your doctor has given you. So cancer and breast cancer, it's not a death sentence. It's just a matter of following your treatment and making sure that you're staying in that continuum of care.
What are the symptoms? Are there some symptoms, that women can look for? I know they, to go for the mammograms, but are there self-examinations, et cetera?
Absolutely. That's a great question. So I want to give you a statistic before I kind of get into that. 1 in 8 women will be impacted by breast cancer in her lifetime. 1 in 8 women. That is unacceptable. And then the other part of that is, we always say, what factors, what contributes to that? Well, it's being a woman and getting older. And those are 2 things that we have absolutely no control over. Now, I know we are forever young here. However,
the truth is the truth, right?
Yeah, that's right, Dr. Mitchell. We may be, but maybe these aches and pains and everything else.
That's right.
Yes, so it's it's tough because there's really nothing that we can do per se. But let's talk about, you mentioned the clinical breast exams. And so it's so important that we're doing these on a regular basis. And so monthly, we encourage women to do their own self-examinations. We have a campaign. It's called Know Your Girls. We want you to know your breast inside and out, know what they look like, know what they feel like, know what color they are, be familiar with every single aspect of your breast so that when there is something that's a little off. If you notice, a change in feel, if you notice discoloration. Many women also experience nipple discharge, bleeding from their nipples. These are all things that are red flags and a sign that you should absolutely go to your doctor and get checked out. And so, I mentioned a young lady in the last episode, and she was 28 years old. And so young African-American woman, she felt a lump and she was like, I'm 28, it's no big deal. Not going to go to the doctor. But when you feel something, you have got to be proactive because early detection is key. And I'm just going to say it one more time. Stage 1, 98 to 100% survival rate. Stage 2, 90 to 99%. That is why early detection is key. And you have got to know your own breast and do those examinations. I know that I'm rambling, but want to touch on this too. So when we're talking about, your parents and the whole prostate cancer thing, let's say your mother had breast cancer, right? So traditionally, we're telling women at 40, go get a mammogram. We're not saying at 39, 38, 37, go get a mammogram. But if your mama was 40 when she found her breast cancer, you need to get screened 10 years in advance. So that would mean that at 30, you need to start getting your mammograms as opposed to the standard 40 that people are saying. And that's the same with your father. If your father got diagnosed with prostate cancer at 40, then you want to start getting your screenings at about age 30 as well. So that is very, very, very important. And a lot of people don't know that and are just sticking to the age of 40.
So, Sierra, it's interesting you're talking about the age. Since we have an audience that's typically over 50, can you talk about what the average age of diagnosis is? Is it still around 60, or is it, we heard you talk about the 28-year-old. Okay. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so that's a great point, Dr. Mitchell. So women who were mostly diagnosed is like 50s on to maybe about 74, 75, somewhere within that age range. And so I think that is why, we stress the importance of beginning your screenings at 40, especially because you may not have known that your father or your mother had breast cancer. And so it kind of covers that window. But most diagnoses do happen between that range of about 50 to 75 years old.
Excellent.
Okay. Jean, did you have a question?
Jean freeze again?
She may have gotten frozen. So I'll just jump in there until. So is there, is there ways to avoid breast cancer?
So avoid is probably the wrong word to use because, like I said, it's being a woman and getting older. There are things that we can do to lessen our risk. So, of course, it's the same thing that everybody says for everything: eating a healthy diet, avoiding alcohol, exercising. Essentially, it's just living a healthy lifestyle, being mindful of the products that you're using, like hair relaxers, things like that. Just being very mindful of what you're putting on your body and into your body.
Yeah, I guess everything does go back to what we put in our bodies, I guess, at the end of the day, and being, now, are there various types of breast cancer, or is it just one?
Nope, it is not a one size fits all. There are several different types of breast cancer, but the one that African Americans are most susceptible to is triple negative breast cancer. And unfortunately, that is one of the most aggressive kinds of breast cancer, and it is one of the most difficult to treat as well. So a way to think about triple negative breast cancer is kind of like a lock, a key, so to speak. So think of it as a house. So your front door may have 3 different kinds of locks, and those are receptors. And so one is for estrogen, the other is for progesterone, and then the other is HER2. And so if your cancer has these 3 elements, doctors have different ways that they can treat and destroy the cancer cells. But with triple negative breast cancer, it means that one of those locks isn't there. So you may have estrogen and you may have HER2, but something is missing. And so because of that, there are fewer treatment options. And like I said, unfortunately, that is the type of breast cancer that African Americans typically get.
Interesting. That's really eye-opening. Again, something you said from our last show as it related to African Americans and just in the various cancers, but in terms of the research and participating in clinical trials, can you share that with this week's audience, how important that is?
Yep. So we know that the way to cure breast cancer is going to be through research. Research is what is going to help us find a cure for this. However, some of the difficulty with research is that African Americans do not willingly participate in clinical trials. You know, we're not just signing up to do this, and we all know our history. And so I understand the hesitancy. But when we think about these diseases that are impacting African Americans at higher rates, or diseases that we're dying from at higher rates, some of that is because the research is just not available due to the lack of research or participants. So we have got to start trusting science, trusting our doctors, and being willing to participate in these trials so that we can help to save lives. I mean, not just ourselves essentially, but we want to save the entire community. And the way that we can do that is by participating in these clinical trials and tests when they do become available.
Hey, Dad. I need your help asking Jessica to prom.
Of course. Love is like the ocean. You have to tread the
Oh,
waters.
Dad. That's not the kind of help I needed. Hey, Jessica. Will you go to prom with me?
Yes.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care can't wait to share their first with you.
What's up, y'all? It's your boy Jermaine Dolly, Mr. Hello Dolly himself, and guess what? You're tuned in to Tea and Worship with my homies, Mignon and Corey. Keep it out, y'all.
Hey, y'all, it's Candy West, and you're watching Tea and Worship with Mignon and Corey.
It's your boy James Fortune, and you are watching my favorite news show, Tea and Worship, with my sis Mignon and Corey.
Now, I know you're not a doctor, so I'm not going to put you in a doctor's role, but what would a clinical test look like? And before you answer, like I told our audience last week, I'm a prostate cancer survivor, caught it in the first stage. And one of the things that when I was approached by Emory to participate in their study because they didn't have enough African American men participating, I said yes. And for me, it was just a matter of signing authority for them to get access to my records and the tissue to see what happened from my doctor. I didn't have to go anywhere. I just signed it, and it was all confidential. And so how might that work for a woman?
So in some ways it could be similar, and then in others it is perhaps a researcher has developed what she believes is a cure, and so it would be signing up to take this drug or to do the trials to see if in fact it is the cure. And so you would come back, let's say maybe every month, every week, get some lab work done, get tests so that they could see how that drug or how those treatment options are working for you. But it's critical. It's so important. The people who do sign up for that, I mean, God bless them, because they are saving lives.
Now, Gene, I know you had some technical difficulty and you're back. Is there a question you wanted to pose to our question? You know, technology is not infallible. Okay, so
No,
hey.
that's true. That's true. But she may have answered the one I was really wanting to find out more about, was that are there ways that you can avoid breast cancer? I was really wanting to hear that, but I'm sure you've already answered that one.
No, I'm happy to reiterate simply because it's so important. So the answer is, you know, there's really no way to avoid it. It's just being a woman and getting older. But we do stress the importance of living a healthy lifestyle, being mindful of what you're eating and drinking, limiting your alcohol, you know, smoking, all of those things that we already know are not good for us. It's just being, you know, mindful of that, exercising, everything that we know, essentially, and then find excuses to not do.
This is true. This is true.
Yes, it is.
So,
Thank you.
Sierra, I have a question. So, once an individual has been diagnosed, can you talk a little bit about the methods of treatment? We hear things like radiation, chemotherapy.
Yeah.
Can you talk about those a little bit in terms of what the differences are, and are they considered as types of treatments that can help someone who has been diagnosed?
Yep. So most times people are recommended to do chemotherapy. And so chemotherapy has come a long way, and a lot of people are able to do it by just taking a chemo pill. And so that is one method of treatment. Of course, radiation. Oftentimes women have lumpectomies or mastectomies. Lumpectomy is simply removing the lump from the breast, and then a mastectomy is removing the breast. And so oftentimes you'll hear women say they had a double mastectomy where, you know, they removed both. Oftentimes for women who breast cancer runs in their families, they sometimes go ahead and do it as a preventative measure. And so I can't say that, you know, one treatment is better than the other. It is essentially whatever your doctor determines is best for you and your care plan. But those are the most traditional forms of treatment. Something that Komen does that I think is absolutely phenomenal is we work with patient navigators at various hospitals. And so this is someone who walks you through from diagnosis to survivorship. And so they kind of make it so easy for you because oftentimes when we were doing some research about barriers to care and trying to figure out why African Americans were you know, essentially losing the battle against breast cancer. Some of it was that we didn't understand, you know, what the doctor was telling us. And so it's really important that there is someone there who speaks your language, but also speaks the doctor's language and can walk you through. They help you keep your doctor's appointments. One of the biggest things is simply staying in the continuum of care, making sure that you're going to all of your appointments. If your doctor is prescribing your chemo pill 3 times a day, making sure that you're taking it 3 times a day. And so, you know, there's just so many different variables, but there are people in the city who are willing to help you and who speak that language and can hold your hand and walk you through as you decide what the best treatment option is for you.
Okay. Now, Sierra, how can our audience contact you or the foundation? I know you said earlier about fundraising. So let's give you an opportunity to do your your 2-minute elevator pitch.
Elevator pitch. Well, listen, send me all the money, okay? All the money. Yes. But you know, to all jokes aside, if you would like more information about Komen, or if you would even like to make a donation, you can do that at komen.org/Georgia. If you need to find out resources that are available to you in Metro Atlanta and throughout the state, you can still visit that same website, komen.org/Georgia. And let me just say it again, if you want to make a donation, komen.org/Georgia.
That's true. We laugh, but this is serious business because laughter is medicine. But this is a very serious thing, and we really, really appreciate you hanging around to do this show and doing it a full hour, even though, and thank you for all the information you shared. I think our audience, without a doubt, is enlightened. I know our panelists have been educated, and we've been talking about this subject matter for years, but you can never hear too much, and you're never too old to learn, and we're forever young, so it was perfect. It was perfect. And so, on behalf of Gene Hendricks and Dr. Sharon Mitchell, and our executive producer, Dr. E. Dewey Smith, our production team headed by Ben Aladdin, and our associate producer, Cammie Tappan, I want to thank you for being here, and thank you. And anytime that you want to come back, just reach out to Dr. Mitchell, because we know that October is Awareness Month, but every month should be Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So if anytime you want to come back, you've got an invitation to come back to talk with us.
Thank you so much for having me. This was amazing. Thank you for sharing this information with everyone as well, because it is so important. And like you said, even outside of October, it is important to be aware of the disease and to continue your clinical breast exams, and just, be mindful of what your risks are, and advocate for yourself, get screened, and just stay on top of it.
Right.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's it. That's going to put another wrap on this show, Forever Young. Once again, on behalf of Dr. Sharon Mitchell, Ms. Jean Hendricks, I'm David C. Linton. We thank you for joining us for our program. And remember, age ain't nothing but a number, because you are forever young. Until next week, take care.
Had this epiphany based on what your grandmother had done. Saved money for 6 months, paid off debt, slept on the floor, and because of this conversion moment, you literally are sitting on the board of a bank that wouldn't have even given you a loan.
I was a pastor of a church. I was spending so much money dressing like a preacher, driving preacher cars. If I'm spirit-filled, the same Holy Ghost that makes me shout can make me wait. Wait until I can afford a BMW, and stop giving money, donating money to big banks, paying them 18% interest for the right to use their credit card to buy something I can't afford. It's a mentality.